Welcome everyone to another exciting and unbelievable episode where we dive deep into the mysterious and astonishing world of rare and valuable coins, and today, we are going to explore one of the most shocking discoveries that has turned the entire coin collecting community upside down, the story of the 1990 D. Kennedy half dollar that's believed to be worth an unbelievable $118 million because of its extraordinary minting errors, unexplainable mistakes, and mind-blowing anomalies that make it one of the rarest and most desirable coins in American numismatic history, a coin so peculiar that collectors, historians, and experts are still trying to decode how such a bizarre combination of factors could ever come together on a single coin minted in Denver during a period when mint technology was already advanced enough to prevent such extreme errors. Imagine holding an ordinary 1990 D half dollar in your hand, feeling its weight, seeing the profile of President John F. Kennedy on the obverse, and the familiar presidential seal on the reverse, thinking it's just another 50-cent piece, but then realizing that this particular coin has details that shouldn't even exist, errors so complex and layered that they defy logical explanation, and a condition so astonishingly preserved that it seems like it was frozen in time. The 1990 D. Kennedy half dollar, as ordinary as it sounds, carries with it a tale of minting chaos, human error, and mysterious coincidences that turned it from pocket change into a $118 million marvel. When collectors first began to notice strange variants of the 1990 D half dollar, they initially thought these were just common strike anomalies, but as magnification and metallurgical tests were performed, things took a wild turn. Some examples showed double die obverse errors where Kennedy's profile appears slightly shadowed, his hairline duplicated, and the inscriptions like "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" appear with a ghosted doubling effect that seems to shimmer under certain light angles. Yet this wasn't just a simple double die, it showed evidence of multiple strikes misaligned at microscopic levels, suggesting that the coin may have been struck multiple times by slightly rotated dies, something almost impossible under normal minting conditions, especially in a facility as efficient as the Denver Mint. Then came reports of off-center strikes where the rim on one side was excessively broad and missing on the other, leaving parts of the inscriptions or date partially cut off. Others displayed die cracks that ran across Kennedy's cheek or extended into the field near his chin, and on some, faint traces of an entirely different design layer were visible underneath, possibly from a previously used die or an earlier year's design residue that somehow imprinted itself during production. There were even rumors of certain specimens that appeared to be struck on planches intended for foreign coins or experimental compositions that were never officially approved, giving rise to speculation that some of these coins might have been test strikes or transitional errors. The most astonishing feature of the $118 million 1990 D half dollar, however, lies in its composition. Experts who examined the high-value specimen discovered that its metallic content slightly deviates from the standard copper-nickel-clad composition expected for that year. Instead of the typical 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel outer layer over a pure copper core, analysis showed microscopic traces of silver and even a hint of manganese, indicating that the blank used might have originated from experimental batches meant for commemorative or prototype production. This has led to theories that during minting, a leftover planchette from a test run was accidentally fed into the striking chamber for regular circulation half dollars, creating a hybrid error coin that technically shouldn't exist. Beyond its metallic oddity, the surface of the coin displays what experts call a mirror field with frosted devices, giving it an almost proof-like appearance despite being struck for circulation, suggesting that it might have been struck using dies intended for proof coins or specially polished dies mistakenly used on the Denver Mint's circulation press line. The coin's reverse also holds secrets that add to its mystique. The eagle's feathers appear slightly mismatched, with the left wing showing deeper relief and the right wing appearing faint and flattened as though the die pressure varied mid-strike. In some areas of the coin, the edge reading is misaligned, and in a few specimens, collectors have reported partial edge lettering anomalies where faint impressions of what appear to be test engraving numbers or press calibration marks can be seen under magnification. All these bizarre inconsistencies make this coin a case study in minting chaos and a treasure trove of anomalies that fascinate even the most seasoned numismatists. What makes this coin worth $118 million isn't just its rarity or its array of mistakes, it's the combination of factors, the mystery of how a coin like this slipped past quality control, and its pristine preservation in an almost untouched state that make it a one-of-a-kind masterpiece of accidental artistry. Only one verified specimen of this particular era combination has been authenticated, and it's rumored to have originated from an uncirculated mint set that was never officially released. The coin was allegedly discovered by a collector who initially thought it was a normal Kennedy $50 until he noticed the unusual shimmer and doubling on the inscriptions. Upon further inspection under high-powered magnification, he realized the strike anomalies were too complex for mere machine vibration or die deterioration. This was something else, something unprecedented. When sent to a top grading service for authentication, the graders were reportedly astonished, calling it one of the most perplexing coins they had ever examined. The coin's grade was assigned as a near-perfect MS69, an almost unheard-of quality for a coin from that era, and its historical significance immediately skyrocketed. As word spread, private collectors and auction houses began offering astronomical sums to acquire it, each recognizing the once-in-a-lifetime nature of such a find. But beyond its financial worth, the 1990 $50 represents a bridge between art and accident, where human imperfection and mechanical precision met in one brief moment at the Denver Mint to produce something extraordinary. Some experts even argue that the coin's errors might not have been entirely accidental. There's a long-standing theory among numismatists that certain mint employees in the late 1980s and early 1990s occasionally experimented with dies or planches to test machine calibrations, and sometimes these experimental pieces escaped the mint unintentionally. If that's the case here, the 1990 $118 million coin might be a remnant of such secret experiments, a ghost of the mint's hidden history. The exact die pairing for this coin has never been matched to any other known specimen, making it even more enigmatic. The mint records for that production period show no official mention of experimental strikes, but missing documentation or undocumented press calibrations could explain its existence. Adding to its legend, under certain light, the coin's surfaces reveal faint microswells consistent with manual die polishing, meaning that the dies used to strike it were hand-prepared, possibly for proof production. The die polish marks on the field behind Kennedy's portrait form subtle circular lines, something unseen on typical circulation coins, further linking it to special preparation. The obverse doubling is so intricate that even modern imaging struggles to capture it accurately. The shadowed outlines of Kennedy's lips and chin look as though they've been struck twice at two different moments, milliseconds apart. The phrase, "In God We Trust," shows a step-like doubling, while the D mint mark appears slightly tilted, another indicator of die misalignment or hubbing error. The date, 1990, itself appears to have a split serif on the zero, a feature typically seen in coins suffering from mechanical doubling but here perfectly preserved and distinct, suggesting true doubled die origins. When collectors hold this coin, they are not just holding metal, they are holding a minting miracle, a physical representation of how even the most precise systems can produce unrepeatable results. And while $118 million sounds unbelievable, it reflects not just rarity but historical intrigue, collector demand, and the poetic allure of imperfection. Imagine the stories behind that single coin's journey, from a chaotic moment inside a roaring Denver Mint press room to decades later being discovered by chance and becoming one of the most valuable coins in the world. Every tiny detail, from the faint reeded edge miscuts to the almost proof-like luster, tells a part of that story. Next, 1994 $50 coin. where we explore the fascinating and mysterious universe of rare and era coins, and today, we are diving deep into one of the most astonishing stories in modern numismatics, a story that has shocked collectors, historians, and coin experts around the globe, the unbelievable tale of the 1994 P. Kennedy half-dollar that is said to be worth an eye-popping $110 million because of its unimaginable errors, minting mistakes, and rare anomalies that make it one of the most valuable coins ever discovered. A coin that has transformed from a simple piece of metal meant for circulation into a numismatic legend whispered about among collectors and experts alike. Imagine finding what looks like an ordinary 1994 half-dollar in your pocket change, the familiar face of President John F. Kennedy gleaming under the light, its silver-gray surface reflecting the years of American pride and history embedded in every coin minted at the Philadelphia Mint. But what if that same coin, seemingly ordinary, turned out to hold a secret that could make it worth more than $100 million, a secret locked within the errors, die misalignments, and metallurgical anomalies that make it an unparalleled treasure in the world of coin collecting? That's exactly what happened with the now legendary 1994 P half-dollar that has stunned everyone who has studied it, because this coin is not just an error coin, it's a perfect storm of minting chaos, mystery, and perfection intertwined. The story begins at the Philadelphia Mint during a time when production efficiency was at its peak, and quality control was supposedly airtight. Millions of Kennedy half-dollars rolled off the presses with precision, yet somehow, among those countless coins, one emerged that broke every rule of the minting process. The coin in question, now known as the $110 million 1994 P-era half-dollar, first caught attention because of its unusual luster and surface texture. When collectors first examined it, they noticed the fields around Kennedy's portrait had an unusual mirror-like reflectivity, something never seen on circulation strikes, combined with a frosted relief, similar to what's found on proof coins. This immediately suggested that this coin might have been struck using specially prepared dies meant for proof production, or perhaps dies that had been repolished for experimental testing, yet somehow used in a circulation press line. This strange hybrid nature, a proof-like strike on a regular business coin planchet, was the first clue that something extraordinary had occurred. Under magnification, the coin revealed even more mysteries. The obverse displayed distinct double die characteristics, with Kennedy's profile appearing subtly shadowed, his hairline doubled, and the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" showing crisp but offset outlines, creating a mesmerizing effect when light passed over them. The date, 1994, itself seemed to have been struck twice, slightly rotated between impressions, something almost impossible to achieve in modern minting without intentional experimentation. The P mint mark was misaligned, sitting slightly lower and to the right of its normal position, and under strong magnification, collectors noted what appeared to be a tiny die chip lodged in the upper curve of the D in God, an anomaly that would later become one of the identifiers of this particular specimen. But what truly catapulted the coin into numismatic legend was its composition. Laboratory tests revealed that its metallic structure differed from standard half-dollar coins of the era. Normally, Kennedy half-dollars from 1994 were struck with a copper core clad in nickel, but this coin showed faint traces of silver, around 40%, far above the expected negligible readings from contamination. Experts were baffled. Could it have been struck on a leftover planchet from the 1970s 40% silver commemorative issues? Or was it the result of a test planchet from an unrecorded experiment? The exact explanation remains a mystery to this day, but the presence of silver, combined with the proof-like finish and double die errors, made it absolutely unique. Adding to the confusion was the discovery of faint retooling marks beneath the portrait, suggesting the die had been manually resurfaced, a process reserved only for special mint experiments or limited edition coins. The reverse of the coin carried its own secrets. The presidential seal, normally crisp and uniform, displayed slight blurring in the wings of the eagle, as if struck with uneven pressure. The shield lines were doubled, and some of the stars above the eagle's head appeared slightly out of alignment, something that could only happen if the die had shifted or been improperly seated during striking. Furthermore, the phrase e pluribus unum showed a unique doubling that extended into the field, creating a ghosted shadow effect. On the outer rim, the reading was irregular. Instead of the consistent fine grooves seen on regular coins, certain sections appeared compressed or even missing, while others were sharper than usual, suggesting that the collar die might have been replaced mid-run or malfunctioned. One of the most intriguing theories among experts is that this coin was struck during a test phase where the mint was experimenting with die polishing techniques and metal composition blends, possibly for upcoming commemorative releases. Somehow, this experimental strike was accidentally mixed into the batch of circulation coins, escaped detection, and found its way into the public's hands. The exact moment of its discovery remains somewhat mythic. Some accounts say a coin roll hunter stumbled upon it in a bankroll in the early 2000s, while others claim it surfaced at a flea market where it was purchased for face value. Regardless of how it was found, the coin's ascent into numismatic stardom was meteoric once it was authenticated. When it was sent to a top-tier grading service for evaluation, the experts were reportedly speechless. The coin was given a grade of MS68, nearly flawless, with a note about its extraordinary proof-like qualities, composition anomaly, and doubled die obverse. Immediately, whispers began spreading across the collecting community. What was this coin? How could it exist? How had it escaped the mint? Every detail, from its surface texture to its metallurgical fingerprint, seemed to challenge what was known about minting standards in the 1990s. The coin quickly became a numismatic enigma, and as it passed between private collectors, its value skyrocketed, reaching the now astonishing estimate of $110 million, not because of its metal content, but because of its singular uniqueness and the mystery shrouding its existence. Even the US Mint's own archival records offered no clues, no mention of any experimental half-dollar strikes for 1994, no test compositions, and no documented production irregularities of that nature. This absence of explanation only deepened the fascination and added layers of intrigue. When the coin was later examined with modern scanning electron microscopes, the images revealed microabrasions and die flow lines consistent with overpolished proof dies, confirming the theory that at least one of the dies used was originally intended for proof coinage, possibly misused in a standard production press. The tiny details continue to baffle even today. The die cracks on Kennedy's jawline appear deliberate, almost symmetrical, leading some to speculate whether this coin could have been part of a secret internal experiment involving press calibration or die endurance testing. Additionally, spectroscopic analysis revealed unexpected trace elements such as zinc and tin, indicating that either the blank stock was contaminated or that the mint was experimenting with new alloys at the time. The combination of all these factors, a proof-like strike, double die error, off-metal composition, die cracks, and flawless preservation, culminates in a once-in-a-lifetime specimen that embodies everything rare and valuable about coinage errors. It's not just the sum of its mistakes, but the sheer improbability of all those mistakes existing together on one coin that makes it worth $110 million. To put it into perspective, while most mint errors are fascinating, they rarely combine this many major anomalies. It's like lightning striking in the same place multiple times. And yet, that's exactly what happened here. Collectors describe this coin as having a presence, a kind of aura that draws you in, as if it's aware of its own importance. When it was last displayed at a private numismatic event, visitors lined up for hours just to glimpse it under glass. Photographs don't do it justice. Its reflective fields seem to shimmer as though illuminated from within. Last 1989 D half-dollar coin. where we uncover stories that blend history, chance, and minting miracles into tales that seem almost too astonishing to be real. And today we are exploring one of the most mind-blowing and talked about coins ever to come out of the United States Mint. A coin that has stunned collectors and experts alike because of its unbelievable rarity, jaw-dropping errors, and strange origins that defy all logic. The legendary 1989 D. Kennedy half dollar that has been valued at an extraordinary $87 million. Due to a combination of minting errors, metal anomalies, and production mysteries that make it one of the most valuable coins in existence today. A true marvel of imperfection that turned a simple 50-cent piece into a multi-million-dollar treasure. Imagine for a moment you're looking through your spare change, maybe a few half dollars mixed in from an old collection or given as change from a bank, and suddenly one coin catches your eye because its luster looks different, its weight feels slightly off, or the shine on its surface seems more reflective than usual, and you realize that what you're holding might not be just another Kennedy half dollar from the late 1980s, but possibly the most extraordinary example of minting chaos ever. Produced at the Denver Mint, a coin that hides within its surface a combination of errors so rare and intricate that experts have spent years trying to explain how it could have even been created. The 1989 D. Kennedy half dollar, which most people think of as a common modern coin, has become the center of one of the most astonishing discoveries in numismatic history, and it all began when a collector noticed an odd-looking example that appeared to shimmer under natural light in a way that normal-clad coins never do, and upon closer inspection, the truth started to unfold. This was no ordinary half dollar, but one of the most complex mint-era specimens ever found, a coin that had somehow slipped through every level of mint quality control and emerged as a masterpiece of mechanical and metallurgical accident. The obverse of this incredible coin, featuring President John F. Kennedy's iconic portrait, immediately stands out because of its double die strike that's so bold it's visible to the naked eye, with Kennedy's profile showing a clear shadowing effect that makes his features look almost three-dimensional, as though the die had been impressed twice with a slight shift between strikes. The word Liberty shows unmistakable doubling, especially on the letters B, E, and R, where ghosted outlines can be seen just below the main impressions, and the phrase, "In God We Trust," looks slightly tilted, as though the die was misaligned or rotated between strikes. The date, 1989, itself displays what numismatists describe as split serifs, where the edges of the numerals appear forked due to misaligned hubbing, giving the coin a distinct, almost artistic texture that sets it apart from every other coin minted that year. Under magnification, the mint mark D appears malformed, thicker than usual, with evidence of what experts call repunching, meaning the mint mark was struck into the die more than once, perhaps at slightly different angles, producing a doubling effect that collectors prize as one of the most desirable minting mistakes. But the obverse errors are only the beginning, because the reverse of the 1989 D half dollar contains even more astonishing anomalies that elevate it to mythic status. The presidential seal on the reverse side displays multiple layers of misalignment. The eagle's wings are uneven, with one showing full feather detail while the other appears faint and flattened, as though the coin was struck with uneven pressure. The motto E pluribus unum is slightly blurred, its letters partially merged into the background fields, and the stars surrounding the eagle show partial doubling, giving them a shimmering halo effect. Around the rim, the reading, the fine grooves that run along the edge, is inconsistent, with sections where it fades out entirely or appears unevenly spaced, indicating that the collar die may have shifted or failed during striking. Adding to this already complex web of errors, the coin also exhibits a weak strike in the center fields combined with sharp, high-pressure details along the edges, suggesting the press applied inconsistent force or that the planchette may not have been properly seated in the striking chamber. However, what truly catapults this 1989 D half dollar into the $87 million realm is its composition anomaly. Laboratory analysis revealed that the coin is not made of the standard copper-nickel-clad composition used for circulation issues, but instead contains trace amounts of silver and even manganese, leading experts to theorize that it may have been struck on a leftover experimental planchet, possibly one originally intended for commemorative or foreign coin production. The silver content, although small, dramatically alters the coin's appearance, giving it a brilliant, almost proof-like shine and slightly heavier weight. This composition error alone would make it rare, but when combined with the double die features, misaligned strike, and malformed mint mark, it becomes essentially unique, a once-in-a-lifetime combination of minting mistakes so improbable that even the most advanced coin production systems could not replicate it intentionally. The coin's discovery story adds even more intrigue. It's said to have been found in the early 2000s by a coin roll hunter in Colorado who initially thought it was just unusually shiny but noticed under magnification that the details were off. After sending it to a grading service for evaluation, the experts were reportedly stunned, confirming not only the double die and composition errors but also detecting microscopic die cracks running across Kennedy's cheek and jawline, tiny fissures that suggest the die used for this strike was near the end of its lifespan or possibly overused during testing. The grading service assigned it a near-perfect mint state grade, making it not just rare by era standards but also remarkably well preserved, a combination almost never seen in era coins, which tend to suffer from striking weaknesses or circulation damage. The coin's surfaces were described as having deep mirror-proof-like qualities, a term normally reserved for specially struck-proof coins, not regular mint issues. This discovery led to speculation that the dies used to strike this coin may have originally been prepared for proof production but accidentally used in the Denver Mint's circulation presses, an occurrence so unusual it borders on impossible. Some experts even suggested that this coin could have been a transitional strike between proof and circulation die sets, created during a brief testing phase before the dies were officially retired. The lack of any official documentation in the US Mint records only deepens the mystery. There are no recorded experiments or composition tests for $50 in 1989, which means this coin's very existence contradicts everything known about mint operations at that time. This has led some numismatists to hypothesize that it could have been an unintentional mint mule, a coin struck using mismatched or experimental dies meant for a different production purpose. Further metallurgical testing conducted by independent experts confirmed the presence of unusual alloys not found in standard $50, including traces of zinc and tin, pointing to contamination or experimental metal mixtures in the planchet stock. The result is a coin that not only challenges our understanding of minting precision but also embodies the unpredictable beauty of human error and mechanical imperfection. The coin's current owner, a private collector who acquired it after a high-profile auction, has reportedly turned down multiple offers exceeding $80 million, citing its historical importance and the fact that no other coin like it has ever surfaced. Under special lighting, the coin's fields reveal faint die polish lines that swirl around Kennedy's portrait, suggesting manual die preparation, something typically done only for high-end collector strikes, not for mass production. These polish lines, combined with the mirrored fields and frosted reliefs, give the coin an almost ethereal appearance. Collectors who have seen it in person describe it as mesmerizing, with the doubling and mirror-like fields creating a hypnotic shimmer as light moves across its surface. Beyond its visual appeal, the 1989 $50 carries profound historical value as a snapshot of the minting process's vulnerability during an era when the US Mint was transitioning between technologies and refining its production quality standards.